Hello, world. Welcome back to the opener. Another sobering night of Rays baseball has just occurred as we get smoked by the Royals. But tonight, we're going to be taking a longer-term view of this team, Will, because this is our mid-season audit. We're just shy of the halfway point, but I just could not wait any longer to take a deep look at this team. This might be the most notes I've had for any episode we've done so far. I've got a lot to get off my chest tonight, but before any of that, I need to know how you're opening today.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time to kind of evaluate the team, right? We're about 3 months into the season now, right? We only have July and August and September. So yeah, we're halfway there, right? So, I have no clue if this team is good or bad. I think about last season and the team really wasn't good and they kind of fooled us for 1 month and then kind of went back to how they were playing. And this is kind of like the opposite. They've been playing good, now it's bad months. So I don't know if they're good or bad. They had a great start, but they're really playing a pretty terrible brand of baseball right now, and it makes it hard to evaluate what this team is. So that's how I'm opening today. Is this a good team, or did we get fooled at the beginning, and are they actually what people maybe thought they were during the season or during the off season?
I'm confused. I'm really confused. This is the worst I've ever felt about a team that's 10 games above 500. And I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment, but we're going to get deep into some shit today and just really get an understanding. It's going to be a little maybe more stat heavy than usual. Plenty of anecdotes in there, of course, as we do so well on the opener. Okay? Can I say the best Rays podcast in the entire world? Whew, I don't even know. What is this, episode 14? Anyway, but we're going to get into all that in just a minute. But we do need to just quickly get back up to speed on a couple happenings here in the past week. We had a Dodgers series. We had a Nats series, and Will, if you could just give me some takeaways, a few thoughts as those series went down and what your impressions were.
Yeah, so the Dodgers swept the Rays. That's first thing I have to get out.
3-1 run losses. That is notable, but we lost a lot.
So we talked about the Dodgers series on the last pod because it was a pretty big series. People were talking about it as a potential World Series preview, right? You have one of the best teams in the National League and one of the best teams in terms of, wins, loss, and winning percentage in the American League. And so we were kind of getting a test for it, right? Is it pitching that's going to be a problem? Is it going to be the offense that might be an issue, right? Is Nick Martinez actually, going to be good? And overall, the pitching did really good in that series. The starting pitching, at least, we'll kind of stick with them, right? Drew Rasmussen was really good. Nick Martinez was really good. Even Shane McClanahan was really good, right? And it kind of gave you some optimism, like, all right, maybe the Rays don't need Joe Ryan. Maybe they don't need Skubal. Maybe they're okay with, Martinez, McClanahan, and Rasmussen because they kept the best lineup in baseball that has, 4 Hall of Famers in that lineup. He kept them at bay. They all did pretty well. So that was a really nice, encouraging sign. The bats just couldn't make anything happen. And that's kind of been the big talk this entire month, right? Is missing that big hit, missing that pop, and not hitting with runners in scoring position, not having, not capitalizing on walks, right? Oddly enough, the Rays had their best offensive game of the series against Shohei Ohtani.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Like, it's so weird. The Rays actually do very good against good pitchers, right? Like Littler, Max Fried, they did good against both those. I think Paul Skeens, they did pretty well. We got a little surprise appearance there. What's up, brother?
Everybody's in for the midseason. For those that are audio only, my cat is in my grill.
Paul Skeens, I think that they had pretty good games against him. I could probably go off. There's probably more pitchers the Rays have actually had good games with, but unfortunately, it was a sweep, and the pitching side of it felt good, but the bullpen didn't seem amazing, and of course the offense was just really lackluster. So that's what we got for that Dodgers series. I wouldn't call it a series to forget for the Rays because, again, I think we have to talk about the pitching was really good in that series for the starting pitching for the Rays, but the bats just couldn't come alive, especially against 2 Dodger starters that are not their top line starters, right? They're not guys that you're expecting to see start a game in October for the Dodgers, right? You didn't have to face Yamamoto. You didn't have to face Glasnow. Snell, I don't think is back yet, right? Yeah. So, those are 3 guys that are easily October postseason game starters that you didn't have to face. and the fact that they had some issues against, was it Eric Lauer, and I can't even forget the second guy. Yeah, and you had trouble getting offense on them is a little concerning. But we get out of LA, we get out of the West Coast, and the Rays take they play the Nationals, I think.
Yeah, we took 2 out of 3.
We took 2 or 3. Yeah, for some reason I had that written down, and then it was like, did we really do that? Because that's kind of how this team feels right now. Is did we win? Did we win a series?
We had a comeback win with Midnight Johnny DeLuca with a 2-run shot that put us in front, which we really needed that. DeLuca was back from the IL, and some much needed juice.
A nice boost, especially against left-handed pitching. I feel like that's kind of, it's funny because last season the issue for the Rays was versus left-handed pitching. I feel like this year it's a little bit against right-handed pitching that they're having a little bit more struggle.
I think it might be against anybody who has an arm.
That's what it seems like. No one can do anything. But you feel good that DeLuca's back. Currently, the Rays sit 3 games as of now behind the Yankees in the AL East, and they're still very comfortable in like a wild card spot. But with how things are trending, you're really not sure how it's going to continue. But the Rays do take 2 or 3 from the Nationals. CJ Abrams might have been auditioning for the Rays during the series.
You or me are in the exact same wavelength right now, which is great for this pod. We are going to be so dialed in here. I was going to say, how impressive was CJ Abrams? It was really, he's a damn good hitter.
He is. The defense, it's always been his problem.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to call it a problem. He's not the best defensive shortstop, right? But the bat is so good. And the Rays, we're going to talk about a little bit more. The Rays probably use a little bit of help at second base. And if they could get CJ Abrams to play second base, that'd be a nice little move that the Rays made. So again, in same thing with the National Series as the Dodgers series, the pitching looked good, right? It looked good during the Dodgers series as well. But, the offense, it feels like runs for some reason for this team right now is such a premium. If you have 1 or 2 runs, it feels like that's huge. And if you're down a run or 2 runs, it feels like it's such a big climb to get out of that. So, hopefully, they've already, at the very best, they could split the series with the Royals, but hopefully, they kind of have a stretch of easier games. I say that even though they lose, with the Angels and
we like
Royals.
To play down. We like to play down. They got
swept by the Tigers earlier in the month, but you'd like to think, right, when they have another 2 against the Royals, 3 against the Diamondbacks, all at home, and then you go on the road and have another 3 with the Royals and 3 with Houston, that maybe you could get some momentum before you have a 4-game set with the Yankees, and you want to try to be 2 games at the very most behind the Yankees in that 4-run set, in that 4-game set against them. So it's they got to kind of pick it up here. It's not, like I said in the opener, it's just not a good brand of baseball that they're playing right now. But they had 2 really good months, so it's hard to think that they fooled us in the beginning. It just seems like no one besides like Junior Caminero and Yandy Diaz are really pushing this offense right now.
Yeah, I think you summed it all up great. I really do. And it's funny because we're 76 games in, and I think this is a good transition to the bulk of our episode today, which is 76 games in. So, around this weekend, we'll be exactly halfway through the season at 81. And we're 10 games above 500. We have played, I think we now, as a fan base, know just how much we were playing above our true talent level. We're playing below it right now, so somewhere in between here. This might sound a little alarmist and a little crazy, but I'm like, there's part of me that doesn't know if this team is going to finish above 500 by the end of this year. Like, I know that sounds nuts, but like, I really dive deep into a lot of stats to prepare for this episode. And I'm worried. I'm a little worried. But look, point being, let me flip the positive. We are 10 games above 500, and we've given ourselves some buffer to have a rough stretch like this, which we have desperately needed. So let me start us off. Let's go offense and pitching. So we're going to go long time on offense, position groups, players, team as a whole. Long time on pitching. Pitchers, units, all of it, okay? Let me list a few things off here. So right now we have an 84% chance to make the playoffs. We're 43 and 33. You told us that going into the year. We are over the moon. Over the moon. You and I were both took the over on this team, which a lot of people weren't really taking. I think I said maybe 86 wins, somewhere in there. And I think you said somewhere in the low 90s, like 90 or 91.
Yeah, I think so, like 92, 91, yeah.
So, that's still, both are still possible. It feels like anything's possible at this point. Our team, the Rays, are 20th in runs scored. So a worse than average offense. Give you a comparison. The Guardians are 26th, a team who has a similar record to us, who plays, especially this year for the Rays, a very similar style of ball with one big difference that we'll get to on the pitching side that has me concerned, okay? So that's a teaser for later in the episode. The Rays are 26th in doubles, last in home runs, which puts us 26th in slugging. You can watch any Rays game and see this for the most part. We have such little power. You have to have a confluence of bunts, steals, and like 3 singles to get a run across the plate for the Rays, especially right now in a downturn. There is just no juice in this lineup. When a ball gets out, I'm shocked at this point. I'm shocked. And it's bad. I'll give you 3 good stats, okay? We're 11th in walks, so we seem to have put some good at-bats together for the most part. We are first in strikeouts, as in we have the least amount of strikeouts. Now, sometimes striking out is not bad, because sometimes the alternative is Junior grounding into his 897th double play on the year as we're getting a rally going, and then it's gone. Okay? So, being first in strikeouts is cool. It's something. It shows what the team's brand of baseball has been, which I meant to say this earlier in the episode. What's the diner scene in Heat when Robert De Niro says, "There's a flip side to that coin." Sorry, that was kind of cringe, but early in the year, we're all up in arms about how exciting this old school offense is, right? This small ball, this hitting. And, I had a revelation like 5 episodes ago that the Rays maybe said, well, let's hit the ball softer, since outfield defense has gotten better. Let's drop it right in front of them. There's still something there. And we're not the first team to do this. I mean, the Brewers have done this for years. The Guardians do this. The problem is, like I just said, there's a flip side of that coin. When it's not going your way and the defense adapts to Chandler Simpson and Ben Williamson, and now all of a sudden these ground balls aren't sneaking through the hole, the pitches that you were hitting for line drives are now popping up, you can't put a damn run across the plate. It's like lethargic. It's lethargic right now, okay? A couple more. We're 17th in OPS at 715. I would say that's good for the Rays because they go into the year. This is one of my mantras here, and one of Eric Neander's mantras. Can we have an average offense and an above-average pitching staff and get our way into a wild card with 87 wins? And that's Rays baseball, baby, until we get our payroll up to $140 million. Like, that's literally what we're doing. In some years, you just have a confluence of some really good young talent coming up, the right signings, and you win 100 games. Like, that's happened. We've been on a great run for the last almost 2 decades. Okay. Here's an interesting one. The Rays, I think we ended up finishing second in steals last year. I think we maybe were second in steals, first or second last year. This year, we're 8th in steals. Okay, pretty good. What's really bad? We have a 72% success rate, the worst in baseball. How often are we seeing guys get thrown out? Well, I guess 28% of the time. I kind of answered my question. But it feels like 100% of the time, dude. Like, Chandler obviously went through a funk, seems to maybe be emerging out of the other side. But Palacios today, early in this game, just as a anecdote, gets picked off with runners on first and third and 2 outs. Sorry, not picked off. Gets thrown out at second with runners on first and third with 2 outs. And it was, I forget who was at the plate. You got runners on the corners with a good opportunity, and then it's just shot. It's just shot like that, right? I mean, we've seen this a lot lately. And
last night was another, not to cut you off, but last night was another situation in the 8th inning. It's a 1-run game. Think of Jonathan Aranda. He walked to first base. They pinch run for Victor Mesa Jr. Fast guy. He has some speed. But you have Junior Caminero at the plate, and there's 2 outs. So you're really not concerned about a double play. What you've seen the Rays been doing is when Junior's been up, stealing second to avoid that double play because he leads baseball with 13 double play balls that he's grounded into. All of baseball. And, I think it was the first pitch Mesa Jr. runs, and he's out by easily, probably like 3 or 4 feet, not just steps. These are feet. The ball was there, and I don't even know if he was in the slide yet.
No.
And you have Junior at the plate, and they just kind of ran themselves out of the inning. So yeah, to just kind of jump on your point there about it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I mean, there's so many individual moments like that we've seen, and the stats across the whole season. Remember, that's the point of this episode. We're looking 76 games in. This is a pretty good sample size. There's a reason why baseball plays 162, because 76 is still not everything. But I want to get at a couple more things here, okay? Junior Caminero, and we're going to talk about him individually in a little bit, has made some big strides this year. Defensively is still really struggling. This also was kind of alarming to me, and we saw a great anecdote of this when he tried or earlier in the year when he went to third as a runner was trying to score going home, and he gets thrown out. I think it was against the Yankees. He gets thrown right when shit turned around for us, was right in that series against the Yankees about a month ago in the Bronx. He rounds second to go to third, and a ball hit to left field, right? And there's a runner in front of him who's going home. I want to say it was Oliver Dunn. And Junior gets thrown out going to third. And Dunn doesn't make it to the plate in time. And that essentially loses us the game. Yeah. Well, that's an anecdote. That's an anecdote, right? Junior's the 4th worst base runner in Major League Baseball. He's not a fast guy, but like neither is Yandy. And like he's not great either, but Junior's the 4th worst base runner in baseball. So, okay. I have 3 more things really, really quickly, and then let's talk about some individual guys, and I really want to hear your thoughts about some of what I went over, okay? The Rays, we talked about this before, part of our strategy, but it's just another like stark reminder of just how little juice we have. The Rays are still last in hard hit rate and last in barrels. When someone hits a gap shot or a home run, it just feels kind of like a miracle right now. Now, let me add one last important context here. The Trop has been the 4th worst park for hitters this season. Okay, that's important context. Last thing, and then over to you. The Rays have the flattest attack angle in baseball. And you can see this. Junior has an incredibly flat swing. Yandy has an incredibly flat swing. Williamson the same way. Someone with a steep swing is Cedric Mullins. So like you can kind of see like he pops out a lot, right? He gets under the ball a lot. So just for everybody listening, right?
Palacios,
what I found Palacios, another guy. What I found really interesting today in my research, the Rays have a 0-degree attack direction, which means they're literally hitting it up the middle, on average, like straight up the middle, which again, you can kind of see anecdotally. Kind of sounds good, right? Well, there's only 2 other teams that are like them, because the 27 of the 30 teams are between 1 to 5 degrees on the pull side, are pulling the ball. So, like, the Rays just have no pull juice at all, and like, this is why I'm worried that what we've done the last 30 days is a little closer to who we are than what we did the first 45 to 60 days.
Yeah, that poolside juice is weird when you're thinking about the Rays, because it feels like they're a team that has players pull the ball. You know, like you think about Isaac Paredes and how he always hits a home run in left field.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like that's what the Rays capitalized on. When Christopher Morel came to the Rays, you could see his spray charts. When he was at the Cubs, he's kind of hitting everywhere. And with the Rays, I think they told him the same thing. Just pull the ball. Just hit the left field. Just pull it. So maybe they've taken a little step back from that. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. Junior's when I think about Junior, like he's obviously an amazing, talented guy. He's our franchise guy. He's someone that needs to be signed long-term, right? He's a top player in all of baseball, one of the best hitters in baseball, I think. But I think something I came up on today is the position in his batting order, I think, is all wrong. And I'm not telling Kevin Cash here how to do his job, but a lot of the times you see Junior batting 4th in the lineup. Usually it's going Yandy, Yandy, Aranda, and either like Mullins or DeLuca or Valade, one of the righty or lefty platoon guys that are in there. And then Junior's batting 4th. Well, if you look at Junior's kind of batting order position splits on Baseball Reference, it's actually a really good tool to kind of use to see how players are doing in certain positions. When he's batting 4th, he's hitting 232, right? He has a 724 OPS, and you know, it's kind of already alarming. His slugging is even down on it. And I think part of this is when he leads off an inning, which happens sometimes with this lineup, right? If Yandy and Aranda are two quick outs, sometimes that third guy is a pretty quick out. He's only hitting 231 when he's leading off the inning. He has a 788 OPS when he's leading off of an inning, which happens more often than you think. But compared when he's batting, second in the lineup, and he's hitting almost 300 with a 900 plus OPS. This is just this year. This isn't even his career numbers. He's hitting over 900 when he's batting in the second slot. When he's batting in the third, it's 288 with an 880 OPS. So I think part of the problem is you don't have anybody protecting Junior in that when he's hitting fourth, right? Sometimes when you have fifth, it's like, sometimes it's Palacios in there, Ben Williamson. So these guys aren't really like too worried about Junior when he's kind of coming up, and you're not really worried. If he's going to hit a home run, it's going to be a solo shot. And, there's nothing to really be concerned about. Sometimes he'll get a 2-run home run. He has 9 RBIs in that spot batting fourth. That doesn't include like just in the first inning. That could be, some guys getting on and hitting around and has a double or something like that. So I still think the offense fully runs around Junior, Aranda, and Yandy. But, seems like Aranda's having a pretty tough month. Junior, I think, is still doing fine. The power isn't gone, but the home runs just aren't there right now. I think he's just missing the ball. And then Yandy's still being Yandy. He's striking out a little bit more, which is a little bit of a concerning rate from him. And he also isn't challenging pitches. I think Yandy needs to start just using the ABS system a little bit more, because you get a lot of pitches to Yandy, up, and he's a pretty big guy. Up, that's called a strike. Kind of low or outside, that's called a strike. And he just doesn't challenge them. And I think there's a whole article on the reason why. But if I'm Yandy, I'm probably going to start challenging some pitches, because he's setting the tone when he's leading off, right? And Yandy can get on base at an insane rate. So, kind of giving the pitcher any sort of advantage against him, you don't really want to do that. So I think there's been a conversation internally with the Rays and the ABS system, because I feel like sometimes they're not very great at it, or they have opportunities, they can use it early on and they don't use it until later on in the game. So I feel like there's something going on with it, but still, I think those aren't guys in the lineup that I'm concerned about. Even if they're maybe not doing everything they need to do, they might not be hitting the best. They're still a force at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, so I think you transition us nicely to some individual guys. So 23 minutes in, I probably lost half the people from me being doom and gloom before, but I legitimately am concerned about this team despite being 10 games above 500. I legitimately am. I really am concerned. But let's go into some individual guys, and I also will have a segment that I need to do on a tandem of guys, okay? They may or may not be guys that are behind the plate, but I'm going to tease you, and I'm going to come back to that at the end of this. Here's some notes I have. Yandy, sign him until he's 50 years old. Have I said that before? I think maybe 20 or 30 times.
Once,
that's all
twice,
I have for Yandy.
Maybe.
He's leading the team in WAR without even playing in the field. I think that kind of says it all.
That's pretty
right?
good. If there wasn't a guy named Yordan Alvarez having an MVP season, Junior would probably be the starting DH.
Well, let me transition you then maybe to Aranda, because Aranda's not been very good at defense, playing first base. No. Halfway through the season nearly, Aranda has 0.8 WAR. 0.8. Okay? Now, he's a great hitter, but last year he had 3.5. So he should be about double where he's at right now to get on the trend of last year. Remember, he missed like 40 games at the end of the season. So I don't know. I don't love that, okay? Junior, you said this. You hinted at this. I'm going to put some numbers on it, okay? Junior's on-base percentage is up from 311 to 369, which is very good. We've seen massive strides in his ability to take walks and stay off sliders down and away. You can absolutely execute a sinker down and in, and he will ground it out. That is still a glaring spot. Like, especially Waka, who doesn't have a lot of velo, but is a type of guy. It's kind of like a Nick Martinez, but a little better, in my opinion. That 10%, not this year in ERA, but
X-ray,
I think just overall
Michael
quality
Waka.
Body of work. Of course, X-ray. He
X-ray,
executed
Michael
perfect sinkers down into the Junior, and what did he do? He grounded him out to third base, okay? Now, the OBP is way up, which is great. The slugging is down from 535 to 477. And I had this note in here, which I already said. It just says absurd amount of double plays still. So, kind of went over that already. Okay? And you stop me at any point if you got something to say, because I just got a list of shit in here.
Keep going. I'll jump in if I gotta.
Okay. Smoke them if you got them. Taylor Waltz. Exactly what you expect out of this Major League Baseball player. Great defense. The greatest defender in modern baseball history. Like, people do not appreciate this enough. I've seen a little more of it this year. I've seen a few people appreciating it this year. What I've noticed is actually some changes in his stance lately. I actually am kind of liking what I'm seeing. I should have got some exact stats on this. The last 5 to 8 games, keen viewers of the Rays will notice that he's got a little bigger leg kick, and he's actually driving the ball better and not getting as good of results the last 8 games. Keep your eyes on Taylor Waltz. He's actually going to have a good stretch here over the next couple weeks. Yep. Valade has been the surprise of the year. A few people were on him, to their credit, going into the season to give him the opportunity. It's always exciting as a Rays fan when we hit on somebody like this, because it just kind of that mystique of the Rays, someone that just hasn't ever gotten quite an opportunity and is a great player. That's the positive spin on it. The negative spin on it is that he costs the league minimum salary, and that's why he's on our team, as opposed to a right-handed hitting outfielder that we could have signed or traded for. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Valade, if I could jump in on Valade,
go for it.
He might be the newest when you talk about a guy with the Rays, right? A Rays guy. It's definitely Ryan Valade right now. First we kind of talked about Ben Williamson, and I'm sure we'll touch on him a little bit, but we thought Ben Williamson was maybe 2018 Joey Wendell, who was the epitome of a Rays guy, right? Ben Zobrist back in the day. Valade, even though, he's really only outfield and first base, even though he played second base a little bit in spring, he, before joining the Rays, had played in just 28 total games with absolutely nothing to show for it, right? I think he maybe had three total hits the entire time in those 28 games, right? It was pretty bad. I wasn't in on him. I was like, this guy probably isn't it. He's just maybe a random depth guy that the Rays signed that we're not going to see. And he's proved me wrong. This year, the Rays have used him so well versus left-handed pitcher, which is what the Rays do. They put you in situations you'll succeed. He has faced some righties, and we've seen that before. And he's done good against righties, but he's good against left-handed pitching. He has his 286 batting average with a 822 OPS, which is kind of like, when you kind of look at this lineup and you're looking for that extra oomph that you're missing, it's kind of interesting that Ryan Valade is the one that's providing it. Now, he's not hitting, 15 home runs. He's not at 10 home runs or anything, but he's still having good at-bats. His bat speed is really, really good. And I've been pretty happy to see him. Is he going to be a mainstay in the lineup for the next 4 years? No, probably not. The Rays are probably going to trade him in this offseason, because that's what they do. But so far, he's been a really good
I think he's got a chance to stick around.
He probably is going to be on the team next year. He might be like a Josh Lowe-esque kind of guy, right? A good year and you're kind of a mainstay. But I've been really, really happy with how Ryan Valade has been playing. He hasn't had a great stretch of the last 7 games. I think he's hitting sub 200 in the last 7 games, but it's a very small sample size for that number anyways.
Yeah, he's one of the guys where, which I feel like this doesn't happen too often for me, where I looked at his Savant page. I think you sent his Savant page today.
Yeah.
And it was worse than I expected, because when you watch him play, he's got a really good ability to stay on the ball and track it. And if, he's sitting fastball, if he gets it, he can drive it. He's hit some off-speed pitches very well too. But if he's sitting fastball and it ends up being a curveball or slider, he's got the, tenacity is not the word I'm looking for, but let's just go with athleticism to then adjust his swing mid-course and fillet it out into right field. And we've seen that a few times, and those are the swings that that doesn't really fully get captured in a Savant page, something like that, where you watch it and you can see how he made a mid-swing adjustment to get on base. And so Valade's been the positive surprise of the year for me. DeLuca seems to kind of be an X factor for us. We hit on this over maybe 2 months ago before he got hurt, that he improved his bat speed this year, and the Rays seem to want him high in this lineup. He's not a great on base guy. There's some swing and miss in the game, but he's got some juice for a small guy. He's strong, he's in good shape, but he's got some serious juice. So I don't have a ton on DeLuca. I'm glad he's back with us. I don't know if you have anything for Midnight Johnny here.
I don't have too much for Midnight Johnny, Mr. Johnny Walker Black Label, we can call him tonight. It's kind of tough because he's had his injuries this season, so you can't really talk too much about his numbers. It always seems like when he comes back from the IL, he's absolutely red hot. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago when the Rays kind of first acquired him after the Tyler Glasnow trade. He was out to start the year, and he came back during that City Connect series, and he was absolutely electric.
Just hitting piss missiles.
Exactly. So I didn't really go into him too much because his numbers aren't exactly foretelling because of his injury, right? But, he was always a guy that I liked, right? When the Rays traded Tyler Glasnow, this wasn't a guy that was like, it's a midseason trade, it's a rental. This was like off-season. You get a full season of Tyler Glasnow. He's young, and you're going to re-sign him for multiple years. So, they got Ryan Pepio, which it's kind of a funny name to talk because we haven't seen him at all this year. And I imagine this rotation of Frank Pepio is in it. But it was only two guys, Ryan Pepio and Johnny DeLuca. And Johnny DeLuca is one that doesn't get talked about as much, but he's a really, really good player. I've always been a fan. I got a couple of his cards because I think he's I just like him that much, right? I think he has a really good bat for this lineup. Is he, a 280, 300 hitter? No, he's probably closer to a 240 to 260 hitter, but he has pop in it, and he plays absolutely elite defense. I know he missed a ball today against the Royals, but his
but that was a hard ball to get to. Hard ball to get to.
Johnny DeLuca has absolute elite first step and reaction to the ball. Yeah. Right? He reads the ball so well. And that ball against the Royals today, you wouldn't think I was like, there's no way someone's getting this.
The fact he touched it at all, it was impressive.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so to your, just adding to that point, he would be playing, he's a center fielder. Yeah. But we have Mullins, so he plays right. I mean, he plays center some days, but that's he's a try to shoot center fielder.
I would not be surprised if, as we're getting kind of closer to the trade deadline, that the Rays, this isn't a trade conversation, but if the Rays end up doing some sort of salary dump with Cedric Mullins, kind of moving for maybe a lower level, probably a 24-year-old AA ball player, just to kind of open that spot for Johnny DeLuca to play center field, and maybe have someone like Jacob Melton play right field, or Jake Fraley comes back and plays right field. Something to just keep your eye on. But Johnny DeLuca, I think, it's funny when you think about him and Taylor Walls are kind of, we've talked about before, the straws that stir the drink, right? It seems like when they are in the lineup and when they are providing for the team, that's when the team is actually playing their best brand of baseball.
Yeah, I think we've seen that this year. I think that's spot on. Okay, we've talked plenty about Mullins. Solid defender. And the last 30 games, he got a 789 OPS. So all I want to say is, the people who are watching this, you probably are a pretty smart baseball fan, okay? And thank you for being here, by the way. Drop a like, maybe subscribe. The stuff that the just the brainless takes that we're still seeing at this point online about him, just anyway. All right, Williamson. Here's what I wrote for Williamson, as we've seen a little more of him. Useful player, but this is not an everyday player. I really don't think so. The fact that he plays as much as he does for us, I think just kind of reflects not that great on the lineup. Just I like him. I really do. And I want him. This is a guy I want on my team. Do not get me wrong. It's just the bat's just pretty lame at this point. Yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah, this is a guy we talked about the off season, when we did our kind of team preview. We brought him up before, and I just said it maybe 5 minutes ago. We dubbed him as 2018 Joey Wendell, right? Which is a
I think that would be a great. I think I said this last pod. That would be a great outcome.
Yeah, right, and that's a huge honor if you're a player on the Rays, for any player. 2018 Joey Wendell, because that's very good. But since he's come back from his injury, that's kind of when the wheels maybe started turning or falling off, I should say, for him a little bit. He's really only coming in against left-handed pitcher in his last 15 games. I like the 15 games because that's a 2-week sample size, right? How are you hitting in your last 2 weeks while this team is whatever this month, 9 and
we were
something.
We were 8 and 12 in our last 20 before going into tonight.
Yeah, I had a whole thing of it. So, he's hitting 167 with a 200 on base percentage, and a kind of an alarming rate is 8 strikeouts and just 2 walks, right? So he's obviously if you see a sub a 200 on base percentage, the strikeouts are probably also counting for that. I see Ben Williamson as more of a just a depth piece in the infield, kind of what Oliver Dunn was for a little bit when Williamson was hurt. Like, you need me to play third, I'll play third. You need me to play short, I'll play short. You need me to go second, I'll play second. I need first, I'll throw a glove. I don't know how good I'll be, but I'll play first. That's kind of what I see him. I really don't see him much more. He's really good with runners in scoring position, which is kind of a very interesting thing. He's just good at putting the ball in play in that situation. But, in his last 30 games on top of that, he's hitting 230 with a 302 on base percentage.
It's like
still
that
isn't very great.
Look, it would be okay if there was power in there. There's just really not, So this is where sometimes like it just there's too many of these type of profiles on our team right now where we cannot we're not getting bailed out by the home run at all. And so I don't know.
And to kind of add on with Ben Williamson, right? And I don't think we're going to do much minor league minute here in this episode because we're staying with the MLB team, but Carson Williams in Durham he's bounced around the infield more. We've seen him at second base actually at the MLB level, and he is having a really, really good June. I didn't.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is it time?
You
got to put your heart out there here.
It is time for Carson Williams to come up.
Okay.
If you have Ben Williamson hitting 167 in the last 15, 230 in the last 30, or 230 in the last 30, and Carson is having a really, really good June. Like, this is what you've been waiting for Carson since he's been back in Durham, to just have a full, strong month where he's hitting, above 260, like above 500 slugging, like above I think he has a 400 on base percentage. Like, this is what you've been waiting for him to kind of get it all to click, and you're like, all right, you're good now. Let's go. Let's keep it going. If I'm the Rays, let's get Carson up here. Let's give him the reps at second base. You're not going to play shortstop because Taylor Walls is there. Maybe once or twice you'll go, but you're going to be a second baseman and get up here and kind of get the experience you need now, right? He had last season. That's at Steinbrenner. It's a little bit different. This is the Trop. I would say it's time for Carson to come up and for Ben Williamson to just be that depth piece the Rays originally thought he was going to be.
Maybe there's no other player on the Rays that puts you and me more on a roller coaster. This is the, I can't help but get emotional, right? I try to, you want to try to be level headed, but you can't help it as a fan. Yeah. Some days and some weeks, I'm just like, this guy is the biggest bust in franchise history, which is, nuts.
I'll text you. I'll be watching my league game. Carson 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts.
Picked off, the next day, whatever. Some stupid
Carson
shit.
2 for 3 with a walk in a home run. It's just baseball, right?
But I'm starting to look at it now, and if we like what we've seen over the last month or so in AAA, if Ben Williamson is going to bat 200 with no pop, I would be interested in Carson Williams batting 200 and having 5 home runs over the last 20 games. Okay, or that might be a lot, but I don't know. I mean, Williamson has options. I feel like we gotta shuffle something. I've been waiting for the Melton news and Mesa out or Chandler out, which transitions me to Chandler, which again I don't have a ton on because we've said a lot about him over the last episodes. Maybe he's turning it around a little bit, which is great. I mean, there's no other team there's no other player, I would say, in baseball that opposing teams. Let me rephrase how I want to say this. There is a chance that Chandler Simpson and not Juan Soto, not Aaron Judge, not Bobby Witt, name any good player. There's a chance that in pregame meetings, there's more time spent on Chandler Simpson than any other player in baseball, which is fascinating.
In pregame meetings with the infield, right?
Yeah, well, yes,
with the infield.
You're right. You don't need to worry about the outfield. Just play in. You're going to be fine.
You're fine. He's not going over you. Don't worry.
Yeah, and we really that actually reminds me. This is one thing after Chandler. When's the last time we've seen him rip one down the line for a double? Am I just forgetting?
He did. I feel like
he did yesterday. He did.
Oh, he did. And that's kind of what when I saw that I was like, all right, maybe he's starting to kind of turn that corner. Right? He started off so hot. We knew it wasn't sustainable. But he cooled off maybe a little too much. Right? You're like, all right, he's probably going to hit 320, 330, right, and be fine. But I think he's in 260 or something now, 270, something around that, and. It seems like he's getting back on top of the baseball, which is you want to see. You don't want to see him hitting the ball up. That does nothing for him. I do think his acceleration out of the box is down. I could be completely wrong about that. But I really think we used to see Chandler, this was just last season, hit, kind of like a chopper to second base or even the far side of first base. And he's legging out, and that's a close play. Now I'm seeing him kind of lay some bunts down that are kind of good bunts, and he's still getting thrown out. So
Yeah.
it could be the length of the season, right? Chandler's played probably almost every single game
Yes.
for the Rays, and obviously that does cause some, little wear and tear on the legs. No player is 100% the entire season. It just doesn't work like that in 162 games. But I do feel like his acceleration is out of the box, and down from out of the box. And I think that's why we didn't see him steal for a little bit. I think he was just fatigued, and now you're seeing him get better jumps, start stealing a little bit more, getting kind of comfortable out there again. So hopefully, I think Chandler is we talk about Taylor Walls and Johnny DeLuca, the guys could be X factors for the team. But I really think like the team relies really heavily on Chandler Simpson just because of what he can do, especially at the bottom of the order. I don't really like him as a leadoff guy. I think the bottom of the order, Chandler is a really good guy to just get on base, steal second, and then you have a guy like, Taylor Walls, a base hit or a fly ball that gets you over to third, then you have the top of the order, right? So I think Chandler's I've gone back and forth with Chandler almost as much as I've gone back and forth with Carson Williams, but I do think like Chandler, if he's going to be on this major league roster, has to contribute like how he did earlier in the year.
Yeah, I'm still currently out on Chandler. I'll just be honest. Like we've seen,
I like to
that
see
it's
Jacob
turned the
Melton
corner. I would also like to see Jacob Melton take some hacks, give him a month, but I just don't. If Chandler hasn't been sent down yet, I just don't really think it's going to happen. I think the Rays are fast. Which credit to him. Good. That's been maybe right there in the top handful of surprises and pleasant surprises this year, in the Valade camp of things, is Chandler's defense has been great. And that's really awesome. Good. He made a nice play today, cutting off what would have been a double, and we got the out, at second base. So the arm is still a complete liability, but just there's still so much good in there. Yeah, Chandler stares at way too many pitches right down the middle.
Yeah.
Like he'll take the first pitch for a strike as a fastball, and he kind of does that thing where he leans in and sees it in. I just don't understand that. Like, teams are not really afraid of you right now, and they're throwing fastballs right down the middle at a higher percent. I don't think it was the highest in the league, but it's one of the highest in the league of just like all right, bet. Let's see what you can do kind of first pitch. Dude, swing at that effing pitch. Like, that you can't defend yourself up there, right? Like, let's get rough and, let's get rough in the club here, man. Guys are bodying you up. Fraley and Lux have just been pretty much non-factors, which sucks.
Yeah,
which
Fraley,
sucks.
Fraley I liked at the beginning of the year. I thought I liked him coming in the box. Yeah. He had a good, batter's presence. His defense wasn't amazing, but his injury, I think you could kind of tell some issues now with the lineup with Fraley out of it, because he's a pretty good left-handed hitter against right-handed pitching, especially right-handed relief pitchers. I think I covered that before of how well he hits against them. You kind of want to see him back because I do think he's just an overall good bat for this lineup, a good lefty bat, which seems like that's what the Rays are lacking, right? Victor Mesa Jr. does have some pop, but he's really not like, he's not Jake Fraley, right? Cedric Mullins is, like you said, almost an 800 OPS the last, 30 games?
30 games, yeah.
So he's a good left-handed hitter, but then you kind of look, you're like, well, Ronda's struggling right now. Fiducia is, we'll talk about the catchers. He's his kind of in his own thing, and you're like, man, who's Palacios, right? He hasn't been much better. His last 15 games, he's batting 184.
It's been really bad.
His last 30, right? He's a little bit better batting 260, but still, like, you're missing that left-handed pop in the bat, and that's what I thought Jake Fraley was. Gavin Lux, I think they said that he's going to start baseball activities soon, but he's kind of like out of my brain. Like I'm like, I don't think this guy's on the team. I don't know how you saw. There's a card in Topps Baseball Series 2 of Gavin Lux, and our friend Tim's like, did he play on this team? We're like, no, I don't know
how did they get a picture of him in a Rays uniform? That was the quote. It's a great question. I got a great thing on Lux for you. The fact that he hasn't played, I think we're still benefiting, because who did we trade for Gavin Lux?
Josh Lowe.
He has been dog shit.
I'm
really proud. I'm really proud that the Rays gave up on him. I'm really proud of that for us as a world. Okay. We talked about Carson and Melton for a second, and all I had was can they contribute? Can they come up to this team and improve this team?
Yeah.
And I think I'm landing on yes right now. So that's two guys internally that I really think we need to give a shot before the All-Star break. I really do. Okay. Now, I just had this in here too. It's not a trade episode, but we've kind of got some new news that Buxton does not appear to be available. He wants to stay with the Twins for life. I was looking
kind
around.
Of interesting.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
I think if I'm a Twins fan, I'm looking at like I could see it two ways, right? Oh yeah, we drafted you, one of our top prospects. You want to stay here? I love that. That's loyalty. Then there's like kind of the other side of the coin. It's like, well, we're really not gonna win anytime soon, right? Like our overall team isn't looking very great, and our farm for the future isn't looking good. And guys like like Royce Lewis really isn't the guy that we thought he was maybe, and we could get some stuff for you, and you're choosing not to. So it's kind of double-edged. Buxton would be a great pickup for the team, but if he's not available, he'll have to pivot, I guess.
Put this in your headlines. Get this in the clickbait. Byron Buxton, not a winner.
Not a winner. Byron Buxton, not a winner.
Put that in your headlines.
Hey, I get why he doesn't want to come to the Rays.
Let me get that
man.
in the headline too.
He's used to losing to the Yankees. He wants to probably go to the Yankees and stop losing to them.
I don't know, man. So I was looking through outfield options. Mm-hmm. There are not as many outfield options that I think that you think are out there in the trade market. So many of them, the best outfielders, are on good teams. Shocker, but I think Melton is our option. So let's give him a shot. The second he's healthy, I want him trying to play.
The other option, and I gotta give my dad a shout out for this because he used to love this guy when he was on the Diamondbacks, and he's kind of always followed him. And I texted you about him today. Jake McCarthy from the Rockies is actually his defense. It's the huge liability of Jake McCarthy is his defense. I think it's like negative 1.2 DWAR, negative 0.9 DWAR. Like it's not very good defense. That's why he plays left field. But the bat is so good and he's so fast. He's almost like Chandler Simpson that just can't play defense, but he can hit much better. And this used to be a top prospect for the Diamondbacks. And he's going to ARB2 next year, which is usually a time you see a lot of guys get moved. So, I know when we talk about the Rockies, we talk about Hunter Goodman. Obviously, that's who you want off that team. But Jake McCarthy is a name to look out for if you're looking to trade for an outfielder. Now, he is a lefty outfielder. You have Mountain, you have Simpson, you have Mullins, you have Fraley. So do the Rays want to get a lefty outfielder? No, probably not. But he is a name to maybe look at, maybe consider, maybe think of.
I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back on that one just because he has no juice, no pop, and that's really what we need. It's just another slapper.
Hey, he's got 5 home runs
and
an 800 plus.
He's playing in Coors Field. He's playing in Coors. Like, I don't know.
You'd like to think
I'm kind of
that,
out on Jake.
You like to think that, but and that's what I thought too. That's always how you look at Rockies players. You look
swing back, hit me. I want you to hit me.
So I went on I was on his baseball reference page. So I decided to go and look over at his splits, right? Because see how he is home versus away. So Jake McCarthy at home, give me a second, it's loading up here, this is live. At home, right, he has a 917 OPS, right? 4 of his 5 home runs are over there. But away, he actually has a really good batting average still. Obviously the slugging's a little bit down and the OPS is still a bit lower, but he has more stolen bases.
Wait.
He has a couple less walks, almost the same amount of games, but
sorry, we're lagging a little bit, but I think I cut you off. Did you say 4 of his 5 home runs were in Coors?
They are in Coors, but he still has a home run on the road.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right, he has almost the same amount of hits at home versus away. I just think he's an interesting name to look at. He has some speed. He clearly does have like some pop in the bat. It's not amazing, but it's still some pop. I don't think the Rays will go for him, but I think it's just a name that can be thrown around a little bit if you want to.
Yeah.
But that's not who you want from the
There's a good
Rockies.
chance he could be available. No. Great transition. You're getting good at this. Pod 15. That's good. Okay, so that leads us to the catcher position. All right, 50 minutes in, we're at the catcher position. This is going to be my flagship little segment here. I'll keep it relatively brief, though. As a unit, Hunter Fiducia and Nick Fortes this year have -5 blocks above average, so 5 blocks below average. -3 caught stealing above average, so 3 versus what was expected thrown out versus like an average catcher, they're 3 worse. Okay, so they're not providing defensively. Okay, Are they providing offensively? No. They have a combined, God, did I lose this? It was like a combined 630 OPS, something like that, 640 OPS. They have a negative .8 WAR as a duo. Negative .8 WAR as a duo. We're not getting anything from the catcher position. You could probably pull Ben Rortvedt out of the gym and the streets right now and get better production out of the catcher position. Okay, and that's like
to say to me.
I know. I'm sorry for even thinking about that. Here's the other thing. Who do we just DFA today? Dominic Keegan to make room for a reliever. So that says all you need to know. And Logan Driscoll does not appear to be the guy either. Coming back from injury, but like the stats are bad. So it's bad right now. Here's the fun thing:
catchers that could help you internally are in Bowling Green right now. Yeah, they're 20 years old and
they're going to be awesome.
Caden Bodine can definitely be in AA, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. So they're going to be awesome, hopefully someday. However, they're probably 2 years away. Well, guess who's got a little over 2 years left on their contract? Hunter Goodman on the Rockies. And I think we're going to do a trade preview after the draft preview probably. I think that would be the plan for us. But I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert now. This is my number one target. Is Hunter Goodman. You're going to have to give him an arm and a leg because we're not going to be the only team with this idea. And the fact that he has that much team control and the fact that he's really good. And what shocks me is he's above average defensively.
Yeah.
If we could get anybody right now, I'm going Hunter Goodman. And if you want to, part of me almost leans keeping Fiducia just to have the lefty and the fact that he does get on base a little bit. The defense is not great. And then you got to cut Fortes. Fortes, I like Nick Fortes like as a dude. He is hacking at everything and not making contact. It's bad right now. Like the swing just looks lost at the plate. It's never been like the swing that you would imagine in your dreams. But it's I did not appreciate just how bad it's been. You could also get Gabriel. I may pronounce it wrong. It may be Gabriel or Gabriel, but Moreno from the Diamondbacks. If they decide they want to sell a little bit. Maybe they could sell Ketel Marte. I don't see that happening, but he's a great hitter as well and like a tried and true proven hitter over several seasons. So he could be available. If you want to get nuts, are the Orioles ready to say that it's all failed and ready to trade Adley Rutschman?
Yeah.
I mean, this,
I think there's some dirty water with the Orioles and the Rays right now.
Yeah.
That Shane Baz move, but the Orioles might be like, we're going to ask for so much for Adley. And you're going to just replenish our farm after we just gave you our farm. Yep. Which would be kind of weird, but who knows?
I know, but things change, I mean, like, look at the difference. Like, I've been kind of poo-pooing a lot of this team this episode, but like I just said at the top, we have an 84% chance to make the playoffs right now. So, like, are we going to try? Are we going to try to do that? Like, we should probably be doing things to try to do that, like shuffling the roster around the best we can.
Yeah, I'm curious how
I really think catcher's our spot.
Yeah, and to jump on, I think the Rays kind of see where they are, and it's not like, last year, and then maybe, a game out of a wild card or 2 games, maybe hold the last wild card. Like, they'll make the playoffs this year. They incredibly good chance to make it, so you want to make those moves to get there. There's a chance that they buy and sell. They do both, but I think for Hunter Goodman, it's going to be a pretty big bidding war. I've heard the Yankees, from what I've read on reports, is they want a right-handed catcher as well. Well, that's also Hunter Goodman, so we'll kind of see. I would not be surprised at all if Brody Hopkins is moved at the trade deadline for someone like Hunter Goodman. He is like, he's a great pitcher. He's a great fastball. The dude cannot find the strike zone. I don't know what happened to him. I feel like he used to walk 6 guys, but he'd only give up 1 run, and it was fine. But now it seems like he's walking 6 guys and giving up 7 runs, right? But
part of it is he's in AAA. That's part of it. But
that's part of it, yeah. So, to talk on Nick Fortes, he started the season on fire. You saw this guy like, oh, yeah, we got our catcher. We're good. It's been extinguished since then. His last 30 games, he's batting just 227, 284 slugging, a 609 OPS. Like, it's just not good. The only positive you can take away, and it kind of contradicts what you had said, is out of his last 88 at-bats, out of those last 30 games, he's only struck out 11 times. So he's making the contact, but it's just
he just makes shitty contact. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And you could kind of see that with the 284 slugging, right? Yeah. So he's hitting the ball, but it's just not
284 slugging on the season
in his last 30 games.
Okay,
it's
wow,
two,
I almost fell over.
But still, out of those last 30 games, he's only struck out 11 times. So,
yeah, but
so you kind of see it's like the quality of contact is just so bad in it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you kind of think about it. And I don't know how many of those are double plays, but you'd almost just strike out. Like you're not.
Yes.
Like I'd rather you just strike out, right? So his defense is just so awful. I've talked about before. I think the Rays have the pitching staff is just not very good at holding runners on, and I think that's a regular thing. Nick Fortes doesn't have a bad pop time.
He has a good pop time.
It's like the 65th.
It's like slightly above average.
Yeah, so it's whatever. You look at someone like Shea Langoliers, he has an elite pop time, and he has caught the most guys running, which is very funny because last season he gave up the most stolen bases as a catcher, so I'm not sure how that adds. But also you look like Alejandro Kirk, who doesn't have a very good pop time, but he's a really good defensive catcher. He catches a lot of guys running.
Part of it is Shea plays like every day. I could be wrong. I don't even know who the backup catcher is on the
Shea Langoliers only has. I think Nick Fortes has actually played in one more game than Shea Langoliers.
But so did Shea miss some time though?
No, he sits more. He's on my fantasy team, man, and I swear every Sunday he's off. Every Sunday he doesn't play. Really? I always look and it's like Shea Langoliers not in the lineup today. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's not in the lineup. What are you doing over there?
That is pretty funny. Yeah. Wait, is there a world where he's on the block? I didn't even put him on my list because I felt like he's too much of that core that the A's think there's something there.
If I look at the Athletics, like that's probably not what they're planning on doing is moving a guy like Shea Langoliers.
Yeah,
I don't think they need to.
Yeah, but now I will say they haven't locked him up. And they've locked up like 4 or 5 of those young guys in their core. They're probably not going to be able to lock up Kurtz because he's going to ask for $8 trillion, and I don't blame him.
Yeah,
I don't know. I really got worked up today about the catcher position. I was supposed to be doing my actual day job, and I had about a half hour.
You're going to get more worked up. Nick Fortes actually has given up the most stolen bases in the American League, a 50, big 5-0. He's caught 18% of them. And I think the league average is like 24%, so well below league average. But Hunter Fiducia hasn't really been too much better. He's played in 17 less games, so his numbers are a little bit different, right? He was good on the Dodgers farm system. We think catcher coming from the Dodgers, he's gonna be pretty good, right? You look at Dalton Rushing, Will Smith, right? It seems like the track record. He has struck out 3 times more than Nick Fortes, but he has a higher slugging percentage and a higher OPS.
He walks. Though.
He does walk, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't mind him as a backup catcher. I don't.
No, he's done a little bit better at stopping the base runners, but there's 150 less innings that Fiducia's played than Fortes, so it's kind of hard to look at the numbers. Yeah. Fiducia has a caught stealing rate of 23%, so he's kind of right on league average. But if you combine the two players, you'd actually have I think a pretty solid catcher, not in terms of their actual numbers, but of their talents. Right? If you take
I don't know.
If you take Hunter Fiducia getting the league average, just the league average of caught stealing, and I think Nick Fortes against fastballs, maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to find some positive.
Yeah,
in it.
Well, that's
right now. They're both liabilities behind the dish and at the plate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about the fastball thing is like when that was your bit from Ryan Bass like 5 games into the year that's what he likes to hit is high fastballs. Okay, you're not a very hard to figure out hitter. Like either throw this guy breaking balls like anywhere or throw the fastball so high that he strikes out. Like there's just not a lot of nuance to the plate. I just like let me just end the catcher thing on this unless you have something else. But like my last point is when your catcher's batting 8th or 9th in your lineup, what does that signal to me? Okay, they're not a great hitter, but they're probably like an elite defender. And then I go and look at their stats, and they're shitty at defense too. And I'm just like, I'm ready to punch a monitor. So,
yeah.
All right.
You can look at Mike Zunino.
I knew I was going to get jacked up
even
today.
The year he had the All-Star and the year before he had the All-Star. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I cut you off.
No, we're lagging a little bit.
The years when the years Mike Zunino wasn't very great, like when he didn't have his All-Star year, his bat wasn't great, but he was still very good at framing, at catching runners, and that's what you'd kind of expect if you have a catcher at the bottom of the order, but that's what you don't have here right now. So who knows?
We
Shea
tried last
is
year
going
with
into
Jansen.
Shea, he's going into that magic number you love, ARB2 next year. So
I know
he's
that's the thing. They haven't locked him up. Like maybe he
could
be out there. They need pitching,
we'll see
and like
what
we can give them some pitching.
Oakland, what Athletics want to do, yeah. So
We can give them our entire AAA starting pitching rotation, who's all like Rule 5 eligible. They can just have them. We'll take Shea.
we'll just keep Michael for it, though.
Yeah, we'll keep Michael for it. Yeah, I always want to say Pride of Princeton for him, but I don't think he. I keep thinking, where did he go to like Yale or something?
I have no clue.
I might be completely making that up. He might have went to community college. All right, this is a good transition to the pitching staff, though. Here we go. Rays had the 10th best ERA, 3.88. Third lowest walk rate. That's great. We hate walking people.
Yep.
Sixth best whip. It's great. Fourth worst strikeout rate. Like, we're not striking anybody out, whether that's the rotation, the pen. When I said this is the callback to the earlier part of the episode, how I said we try to playing, especially this year, a game that's really similar to the Guardians and what they try to do. Here's a big difference, though. The Guardians are third in strikeout rate, which is just so much more sustainable from the pitching side. Like, look at Nick Martinez. He has overperformed. I mean, it's been great this year, like, as far as ERA and how many runs he's given up, which is like, I mean, is that the most important thing? Yes, but like when I'm projecting out into the future, I don't feel that great about Nick Martinez because like he doesn't strike anybody out. I feel a lot better about the Guardians pitchers, even if our ERAs are relatively close to each other, just because their strikeout minus walk is really good. And the team that's when you think of like, so you think of the Rays at this point as like a good pitching organization. Right. They're fairly good at pitching development, but like they're not the best anymore. Like who comes to mind when you think of the best?
I think the Yankees.
Yep.
The Yankees
yep.
right
Sadly.
There. Yeah. Guardians. Like you just kind of mentioned, the Guardians right up there. Brewers
getting warmer.
Of course, right up there.
Yes, that's the one. Brewers. The Brewers. So they're first in strikeout rate. Okay. So I think strikeouts are also
probably just listed
kind
1,
of
2,
important.
3 right there for you. So.
I wish I had it. I had it pulled up on my work computer, but okay. So those were a few of the stats that I had. Did I have a couple more here? We're good at limiting hard contact. So there's
something
that.
I want to throw in.
Yeah, go ahead.
The pitching is it's still very good. They have a 4.17 ERA in June, which kind of goes hand with how bad the month has been. Right? They haven't been absolutely amazing. The hitting has been great. The starting rotation, right? And it's kind of weird looking at the Rays as like the starting rotation, right? Because you've had guys like Griffin Jacks and Mason Englert, and I think we even had like some openers that have come in. So it's a little bit different, but they're fourth in starter ERA at 3.43. So the starters are still doing fine, right? They're not, it's not sub 2, but I don't think anybody is sub 2. They're fourth at 3.43. Yankees are 3.33. So they're really not too far off in terms of starting. But
project it out but like think about the rest of the year though. Just like I know we're talking about what's happened. Like, who would you rather have in your rotation? Cole, Rodon, Schlittler, and Fried, or McClanahan, Rasmussen, and then whoever
Martinez and Jax.
Martinez. It's not bad, but it's just.
I think where the problem more so lies is the reliever ERA up to this point is 4.48, which sits at 21st in baseball. They're at the bottom third of a bullpen, right? And it's kind of shocking because you said like they have the third least amount of walks in baseball. They've limited it. Ian Seymour has 19 walks, which leads all relievers over 29 games and a 4.98 ERA. So he's kind of weird. Like it's kind of weird with Ian Seymour. I think you talked about it before. Like Ian Seymour could be like Parker Messick.
Yes.
If he just pitched a little, like just a little bit better. Like they have so similar traits, but like I thought Ian Seymour was going to be a starter, and then he went to the bullpen. He was kind of only pitching 1 inning, maybe 2, and now they're trying to put him back as a starter, and Joe Boyle's in Durham being a reliever. Like it's kind of like some stuff just isn't making sense to me. I'm sure they have all this analytics and stuff that they're working on, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And you kind of start looking at the rest of the bullpen. Brian Baker and Kevin Kelly both have sub 1 whips. And then everybody else is kind of like sporadic out of that bullpen. So, it's the starting pitching, I think, is in a fine spot, right? Drew leads the AL with a 0.884 whip and all of MLB with a 1.6 walks per 9, right? So he's still Drew Rasmussen, the all-star
that is so
ace
good
of the team. I think Nick Martinez has definitely overperformed, but I wouldn't say at this point that he can't sustain it, right? He's still pitched really, really good. Doesn't get the strikeouts as much, but he limits that hard contact. Shane, I think right now is kind of the wild card, which is weird to say. He's kind of shaky when he first came back, and then he had this really, really good stretch.
Yep.
And then he's kind of, I don't want to say he's fallen off, but he's kind of started to grind through some of these games. Today I think it was 6-1, and 5 of those runs were at the hand of just Shane McClanahan, right? It was back.
He had only 2 earned though, which was weird.
Yeah, it was a home run and then another home run, and then the error that he threw down to first, which let the runner score, and then a 2-run home run by Caglione. That's 5 out of that 6 runs right there. I think for Shane, right, he hadn't pitched in over like 2 years, and it is a grind of a season, even if you are limited in your pitch count. So I think he's just kind of going through that of maybe a little fatigue. I say fatigue. He's hitting 98, almost 99 in some of these games, but I think he's just trying to work through some stuff right now of maybe it is fatigue, a full season again, stuff like that. But I still think like the pitching is where the team is really good. Mostly the starting pitching. I think the reliever, we're just missing something. I don't know why Joe Boyle is still in Durham. Hunter Bigby, we thought he was going to be really good, but he had his own struggles and issues. So I feel like the Rays always have some sort of issues with the bullpen, but it makes me think to last year when the team was doing good and the bullpen was started blowing all these games. Coincidentally, it was right when Ha-Seong Kim came back as well, and they never recovered from that. The bullpen just didn't really recover. The team never recovered from it, and I'm hoping it's just not what's going to happen again this year.
Yeah, this is a team that desperately needs Manuel Rodriguez and Edwin Uceta like as soon as possible. Yeah. You'll have to talk me off the ledge a little bit, which is maybe part of the theme for me in this episode. But I kind of wrote this down. There are 3 pitchers on this team that if you handed the ball to them right now at any moment and said go pitch, I would feel confident when they go into the baseball game. And it's Drew Rasmussen, Kevin Kelly, and Brian Baker.
Kevin Kelly, your favorite player in the world.
I know I was so wrong, and I love being wrong when I'm getting amped up about somebody and I'm wrong. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm the only person in the world that's like kind of a little worried about Nick. All right, let me put him in there. I've got to show him the respect. So there's 4 pitchers where you get in the ball. I feel pretty good right now. You could convince me on guys like Jax, Seymour, McClanahan, Clevenger. We've seen good, we've seen bad, but you could convince me on those guys. How high is the price going to be for Aroldis Chapman?
I feel like it's not as high as you would think. But if it's the Rays calling for Aroldis Chapman, it's probably a little bit higher.
If you could give me Aroldis Chapman and Brian Baker and then a Kevin Kelly fireman, and you could just put Chapman as your closer and have Baker, he seems to be able to do whatever, but it might be hard to give up. But like all of a sudden I'm feeling so much better. Like that just, I don't know. That's like, that just, the other name I said that maybe is a little more realistic is Tyler Holton on the Tigers. Really solid left-handed reliever. Completely different style of game. Like not a lot of velo, but just kind of funky. So I didn't have quite as much overall in the pitching. Take me down.
A little bit from the pitching. We'll get away from the pitching. It's not too much, but I do have some just team stats to kind of go over at this point, and maybe from there we kind of see how we look for the rest of the season, right? See how we're feeling. So in the team stats, the biggest thing that jumps out and people talk about all the time is the home versus away record. The Trop is like a real hack for the Rays. After today's game, they're 26-12 at home, and they're 17-21 on the road. So 26-12 is still a really good record at home, even despite how the month that they're having. I think they have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 6 of those. Half of their losses for home this year have come in this month, right? So they it's kind of crazy to look at it that way, but that's kind of going to be a theme that we look at here. So they're 7-13 during the month of June, including the loss today. This is the one that you kind of look at and it starts making sense of why this team isn't doing good. And it kind of falls when you look at the offenses. they're 11-9 in one-run games this season, right? Which you kind of look at it like, okay, like, they're kind of 50-50 in one-run games. Sometimes they win them, sometimes they lose them. No, it's not sometimes. 8 of their last 12 months, 8 of their last 13 losses this month have come on one run. So they had one loss in March versus Cardinals. That was a one-run game, and I think that was second or third game of the season. Cardinals walked it off on them. The Rays kind of had their comeback, and then I think they lost 6-5 in that game. Since then, since that one loss, the Rays were 11-1 in one-run games. They dominated. They won 11 straight one-run games from that point on, and they came into this month, or excuse me, I was wrong about that. They won 9 straight one-run games. They came into this month 9-1 in one-run games, and now this month they've gone 2-8 in those one-run games. So that kind of is where you start looking at it. And now some of them were like 9-10, right? So you can't look at the offense as that was a problem, but majority of them, when you look at 1-0, a lot of 3-4, 2-3.
Yeah.
So they're low scoring games that the Rays offense just hasn't been able to kind of find that big hit for, especially with runners in scoring position. That's where the biggest problem is just leaving guys on base. So I think when you're kind of looking at the team this month, is they're just not winning those one-run games, right? Even if you win half of those one-run games, it makes a pretty big difference. But instead, they've decided just to forget they've lost 8 one-run games this month, which is pretty bad.
The runners in scoring position is a big part of it. Like, you just the double plays, just almost untimely double plays, like over and over and over. To me, though, I think a more reliable solution is more power. We need more power. Like, there's just no juice right now, man. Like, I need some more guys in the lineup that can hit some home runs, and whether that's behind the plate, whether that's in the outfield with somebody like a Melton or Carson at second base. Maybe I could regret saying this, but I'm just like, I'm ready to just pull the plug for a while on a few guys and just make like 2 or 3 roster changes like tomorrow and let it play out for a month and see what happens.
They don't have much to lose, right? If we're being honest, like, they have a good cushion in terms of a playoff spot. They aren't getting production from some of these other guys, so it wouldn't really be, would you rather have Ben Williamson hitting 184, or would you rather have Carson Williams hitting 184? I think I'd rather have Carson Williams hitting if they're going to be doing the same thing, right?
Is the defense going to pan out, though? That's the big thing. Like, we've heard of the minor league Gold Glover, but then he comes up here and he looks yippy. But if the defense is going to pan out, it should be better than Williamson.
Right.
So
and
it's
at second
upgrade.
base, right, doesn't have as much of a need of a glove as you do with shortstop, right?
Yeah. They should mess around with him playing a couple games in the outfield.
Ooh.
Just for the hell of it. Because, like, if we think he's fast, he's got a great arm, like, maybe just a couple times, just so if he becomes a utility player, which I hope that's not the outcome for him. I hope he's an everyday shortstop. But, maybe they could mess around with a couple games in the outfield and just see. I don't know. I'm ready to give Melton and Williams another shot. I'm ready to shake up the bullpen with somebody. I'm sure they are too. They made a move today, getting the player from the Cardinals. I forget his name. Low slot, sinker sweeper kind of guy. Looks like he has good stuff, just walks too many guys. I mean, it's kind of what the Rays do. Go get somebody like that, tell him to throw it down the middle, and see what happens. Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens. He's in AAA right now. And again, I was Dom Keegan out for a reliever. So,
which is crazy. So weird to say that.
It is.
That Dom Keegan, this guy, I think he was a top 10 prospect for the Rays at one point. And I feel like he was in Durham for like 3 years and just never get some injuries. The bat started good and kind of really fell off. So, hey, best of luck to Mr. Keegs.
Yep, best of luck. He's still young. Yeah. I think he's 25, 26. So we'll see what happens. I feel a little better getting all this out.
Yeah, let it's like therapy, right? You talk it out, right?
It's just weird, like it is. It's just so strange for me to feel this way about a team that's 10 games above 500. I know I am partially caught up in the moment of the last 30 games, but I just am really the more that this has dragged on and it wasn't like a 2-week stretch, and we see teams like the Brewers and the Braves and the Dodgers and the Yankees like kind of continue to, maybe not quite as much as the Yankees, but you see a lot of these powerhouses like continuing to stack up wins, and we've had like a really prolonged drought now. I'm worried that we're closer to this than we are the team we saw the first 45 games of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, you wouldn't think it if this didn't happen last year. Now, the Rays didn't start out amazing last year, but they had that great stretch. You're like, oh, this is great. We're making the playoffs. This is awesome. This team's actually like, they're talking about postseason at Steinbrenner. It's just so interesting, and they kind of fell off. So you're kind of getting a little PTSD from that. I think the postseason is, dare I say, I don't want to say a guarantee, but it's a strong chance as long as Eric Neander and company make the right moves, right? Like you said, I think number one thing is a catcher. I think you have to improve behind the plate. I think they need a relief pitcher, like you said. Chapman would be amazing, but any sort of just extra post to get to Brian Baker, right? So if it's somebody in the seventh and then Kevin Kelly and Brian Baker, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, and it could end up being Clevenger. He needs to get back to the Clevenger we saw last year.
It does, yeah. And I think either you want an outfielder with some power, depending on how it goes with Melton, right? If Melton's definitely going to come up soon because they need to kind of evaluate what they have with him, or a second baseman if they choose not to put Carson at second base. So
yeah, that's why not to cut you off. I feel like this is important for that part. Is like that's why I'm saying we should bring them up now while there's still a month before the trade deadline and see what happens, right? So that's where I've never managed a major league roster in real life, so what the hell do I know? MLB The Show franchise, get me in there. But like, it's just like it makes some kind of sense to me. Like, let's get those two guys in here, get a little juice. Maybe they suck, and then you bring the other guys back up, and we can. Whatever.
Exactly. So I still think this team is a 90+ win team just because of how well they've started. I think they could still reach 90, 91 wins this season. It's a pretty weak American League, but the bullpen does need more. I think that Kevin Kelly and Brian Baker, and the offense needs some sort of pop in spots 5 through 8. Right? You don't need your 9th hole or even 8th hole guy hitting home runs, but in that back half of the lineup, you need some pop in there. So
yeah, I'm with you. I think the path forward is if we're going to play 500 ball for the rest of the year, we will make the playoffs. But I don't think the team right now can actually play 500 ball. So I think we have to make a couple little moves so that we can do that and finish with 88 to 90 wins. And then we see what we can do in the postseason. So, okay, well, this is a big episode. We'll be back soon. We're getting closer and closer to an MLB draft where the Rays have the second pick. We're getting closer to this trade deadline that we've talked about. A lot of really fun times of the year ahead. Episodes where I might be a little more jovial, but this was just important to really break down every bit of this roster as we look towards the second half. So thanks for joining us. Will, do you have a closer for today?
I do. And a kind of good note. Taylor Walls officially has a higher career WAR than Wander Franco. I said his name on the pod. So that can officially close the book. Discussion of who's better in that chapter of Rays history. Taylor Walls has exceeded Wander Franco. On,
that is big news.
So I feel like that's
he's
important
exceeded Wander Franco.
Yep. It took a couple extra years, but he did it.
There's a lot that I could say there that we'll just let it roll.
We'll just leave it at that.
I think Taylor Walls is the greatest shortstop in Rays franchise history, and that's kind of it.
On record for that.
All right. Hey, listen, take the rest of the night off.
You too, man. You deserve it.
All right. We'll see you back here soon on The Opener. Thanks for listening.